All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Trapped Jail Nurse podcast, where we have nurses that have all worked in the jail setting. We're going to be talking about nursing stuff. We're going to be talking about the things that we like and dislike about nursing, and then a lot of things that are unrelated to nursing as well. More specifically, like personal finance, side hustles. So today we have myself. My name is John. I have Rick and Roland. Just a quick background about the three of us. We've all been jail nurses before, and we've worked together as jail nurses. So we wanted to start something like this to help people that are out there to learn more about this specialty, and then also learn about like the pros and cons and things that people may not know about jail nursing. So welcome, guys. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Do you guys want to just kind of very briefly tell something about yourselves? So I guess we can just start with like Rick, and then we'll go to Roland. Rick, you want to say your name, age, and how many years you've been a nurse?
Name's Rick. Age about 37, I think. I think after 20, you kind of just stop counting. Probably been a nurse since 2016. I don't know. What's the math on that?
6 years.
6 years? Yeah. 4 years in the jail. 4.5. Oh, actually almost hitting the 5th year working at the jail.
That's good. You're almost vested.
Almost vested, but almost doesn't count.
We'll talk about vested more later, guys. But 5 years in the jail. What did you do nursing wise before the jail?
Prior to the jail, I did a little bit of psych nursing as an LVN, and then went to med-surg. Couldn't hack it. Lasted a week working at a SNF. Couldn't hack it there. And then I dabbled into doing hospice nursing. That was a trip.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thanks.
You did that.
Yeah.
What about you, Ron? You want to just say your name, age, and how many years you've been a jail nurse?
All right. What is up, guys? My name is Roland. I am 33. Yeah, I am 33. And I've been a nurse since 2016, 15. Man, I can't even remember, actually. But I originally started out at a place that Rick actually worked at. We both worked at, not at the same time, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I started out with psych nursing in a locked facility. And then I worked nights, and working nights really sucks. So then I found the jail while working nights. And then I ended up there for the past, I think I made it to my 6th year. So I got vested. And now I'm working from home for which is formerly, they just had a rebranding. So that is something new to be doing. Totally different than jail nursing.
One thing I forgot to tell the audience is that we are all based out of the San Francisco Bay Area. So that will kind of put things into perspective once we talk about money and things like that. I'm sure whoever's watching this podcast is well aware that the Bay Area pays nurses very well. So we'll kind of get into that later. But why jail nursing, guys?
Oh, man. You want to go ahead, Rick? I'm going to try to fix my screen real quick.
Actually, to be honest, I was scared at first for hearing about jail nursing. Former college... you don't call them coworkers. You call them college mates. Is that what
a colleague?
A colleague.
A colleague.
You went to school. Anyway, yeah. One of my colleagues told me that jail nursing was actually really chill. And when I do compare it to working med-surg, it totally is. It was comparing apples to oranges, and getting to, granted, that is actually or in the jail is actually where I actually learned more the triage skills, which seems to be translating to other places and kind of opening more doors, transitioning out of the jail. So the work is actually pretty easy. It's fun if you have a good group to work with. Granted, you guys were awesome to work with. That's why I was staying on the same shift as you guys for the longest time. But yeah.
Yeah, that's true, man. I forgot to give my introduction, but I'm John, just turned 38. I was a jail nurse for about 9 years, and then now I'm doing telephone triage, also remote. But what you said, Rick, is absolutely right. It's a lot different from like the hospital nursing jobs. Definitely not as tiring physically, but it's challenging in different ways, in other ways. But that part that you mentioned about the triage experience that you get from the jail definitely helped me a lot when I started working this new job where I do a telephone triage. So I didn't realize that at the time, but all that experience I had at the jail actually helped me to land my current position for telephone triage. And a lot of people that come into this job have actually worked in like all other types of nursing specialties like ER and things like that. So in a way, like we kind of acted like first responders in the jail whenever something happened and knowing like what to do when there was a medical emergency and things like that. What about you, Roland? What made you get into the jail?
Before I get into that, I just wanted to add on to yours. I think there is actually, it's pretty common. The jail is typically seen as what do they call it? Like a long-term setting, almost like a SNF, but for a bunch of inmates. So most people they would look past our clinical skills just because of that. But I feel like the jail really helped me at least develop a lot of like communication stuff, especially assessment. We only had, what do we have? A BP cuff? A BP cuff with pulse ox. And I mean,
and a thermometer.
Yeah, disease isn't exclusive to people outside of jail. I mean, they all come in with the same stuff, if not even more complicated, by drugs, outside activities, alternative lifestyles. So it is definitely different, and I wouldn't discount the skills that you learn in this type of setting. But with that being said, for me, I had a lot of family that worked in corrections. I had a cousin that worked at the state prison. My dad works at hospital, as well as I think he also used to work at the prison as well. So I hear about it a lot, and I mean, I was just around it. I guess I was just exposed to the idea of it for quite a while. And it was one of the only places that would hire me right away as a new grad. So, they will take anybody. It's definitely a learning experience.
Well, when you actually, we probably won't name the manager names, but if you ask them, before they didn't hire new grads because they thought really? It was, you needed a certain amount of skills before getting into that setting because you're so independent. Mm-hmm. So for a long time they were saying they didn't normally hire new grads. That was actually a more recent change that they made.
I think at least the more recent change is not by choice.
Like yeah, that's could be
now.
Yeah, it could be.
It was just pretty much short staffed that they're almost willing to hire anybody.
Yep, that is true. A body, maybe a body. Any warm
that's exactly the terminology they use.
But yeah, definitely. The psych nursing help coming into it. The transition wasn't too bad. The best thing about going from the locked facility to the jail was I don't have to touch them like as much as I had to touch them in a locked facility. So in the locked facility, I mean, Rick remembers when you do like
hands-on sometimes.
Yeah, you do a hands-on, or I don't think they use the word takedown anymore. But you assist the patient safely to the floor, and then you provide them emergency meds. And in that facility, it's not like their doors are closed. They have access to everything. They could rub their bodies in peanut butter, Vaseline. What else could they rub themselves in?
Oh, give me one moment, guys. I think we have a special guest.
Whoa!
Look at these fellas right here.
Welcome.
The man of the hour has an introduction to
The whole
provide us.
gang is here.
All right, JR, we're live
Sorry,
on the
I'm coming in
podcast
late,
now.
But, how you guys
It's all
doing?
right. Yeah, we pretty good.
Doing pretty
So for those that don't know, this is JR. So he's one of our other jail nurses. So the four of us actually used to work in the same jail before. Some of us are still working as jail nurses. Some of us have moved on to other things, but the four of us, thought it would be a good idea because we all came from the kind of the same background. But not only that we're jail nurses, but we're also interested in doing like side hustles, entrepreneur stuff. We thought it'd be a good idea to come together and create this podcast for you guys to share stories about the jail, in case you want to get into that specialty, but also things that you can go do beyond the jail as nurses too. So welcome, JR.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, for on. Yeah. So real quick, do you just want to say your name, your age, and how long you've been a jail nurse?
As John mentioned, I'm about 40 years old. And I've been a jail nurse since 2018? Let's see, or 19. 2019, I think.
And then what do you do?
So maybe
Actually,
about
your background is pretty interesting. Yeah, your background is
What's
pretty
that?
interesting, Jared. What did you do before the jail?
Before the jail, I worked in law enforcement for 6 years. So it kind of went hand in hand to what I'm doing now. It's just on the other end. Rather than taking them to the facility, I'm taking care of them in the facility.
Yeah, I always thought that background for yourself is actually pretty unique. You don't see that a lot, so
Yeah,
I'm glad that we can
definitely does help with communicating with that population. So you kind of understand where they're coming from.
And then the question that I had the other guys talk about was why jail nursing for you?
Well, I think it goes on with my background. I kind of feel comfortable with the population, and I thought it would be a good easy transition for me to go. Yeah, since it was such a drastic career change, that it kind of was a little bridge for me to move into that career from law enforcement to nursing. So it kind of was within my comfort level.
Yeah, it makes total sense, man.
Have you guys ever rejected one of JR's arrestees coming in at intake?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think. No,
it's happened before.
Worked in a different county.
I was rejected many times.
Just to give everybody a kind of a very brief overview of jail nursing, there's several different levels of correctional nursing. So you have the county level. That's where anytime somebody commits a crime, they always come through the county first. You have the prison level. We have the state prisons and federal prisons as well. And then Roland was talking about earlier about locked facilities. So these aren't really correctional facilities, but there are facilities that are locked down, like certain units, and that's for safety reasons. So that's just quick, I guess, overhead view of how the correction system is set up. One question for all of you guys: what's the most surprising thing what surprised you the most about jail nursing when you first got into it? So we can just kind of go around and share what
the most
surprised you the most.
I think it was the how close I got to be with them. I mean, like in terms of physical space, I didn't know I'd be that close. Granted, they're not as scary as I thought they would be. I think I had a preconception of how inmates are supposed to be, but when you go there, they're just like regular people. They just do sketchy stuff. But for the most part, I mean, they're fine. They're mostly fine.
Actually,
except for the lockdown population.
Definitely add on to that comment that Roland had, that Yeah, it was amazing how close you got, but also how safe you still felt while being that close.
That's true.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
there's always a deputy or a CO that's accompanying you during those visits. I mean,
Yeah, the
granted,
big
there's some that are smaller than the nurse, like CO or deputy, but they are properly trained, or you do have to have some
it's strange.
level of confidence in their ability. They are where they are. But times you kind of
That is
you
true.
kind of think, can they really save me if things went down? But I mean, those are always
Right?
things that go
It's
on in the back of your head. But generally, you usually feel safe.
Yes.
strength,
Yeah.
strength in
This
numbers for
one
sure.
you're talking about.
Yep.
What about you? What about you, Rick? What was the most surprising thing about jail nursing?
To be honest, is about how safe you actually are. Going into the working in the jail at first, I always had that preconception of, dang, you know what? Am I really going to be safe? I'm going to be around inmates all day. I'm going to be around criminals.
I
That
thought
sort
I
of
was going to
thing.
get stabbed.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing plays in your head. But granted, you do have to be pretty vigilant. You got to be able to. You can't you can't let your guard down. But I've been assaulted in working as a floor nurse, whereas working in the jail nurse, I have not. Knock on wood. But I mean, that's that. My first day working in the jail, though, I was first brought into the lock area. I think you guys know which one I'm talking about, the one that smells really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got brought into general population, and it was such a drastic change. Like I said, I was wondering, like, why are these people not in their cages? That was the thought I was having. I was like, oh shoot, these guys are walking around. Why are they not in their cage? Why are they? And that's the exact terminology I said, because that's just how I really didn't know what was going on. And I think that's the preconception of a lot of people when they first start working at the jail.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of I think everybody has this preconceived notion of what it's like inside the jail, especially with all the TV shows that are out there.
Yep.
But yeah, just like you guys, I was actually surprised at how safe you really felt, and I think something that the viewers out there should know about is compared to like if you work in a hospital or mental health unit and things like that. Even if you're in like the ER, there may be only one or two security guards that are just kind of sitting by in case something happens. In a mental health unit, you may have one security person, but if there's some type of event that happens where a patient may need to be brought down to the ground to control or to keep everybody safe, the nurses are the ones that are actually getting hands-on with that a lot of the time. So at least in the jail, you actually have a whole team of cops that are there to protect the inmates, but also the nursing staff too.
That's true.
So I always felt safe. I was there for almost 10 years and I felt safe the whole time.
You're usually not a target, too.
That's true.
Usually the target is another kid.
It depends
or
on how well you are treating them.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
But usually you're not going to be the target unless you're a jerk to them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you just do your stuff, you do your job, like, you're typically fine. Nobody's going to bother you. You don't bother them. But for the most part, what I know is, when we send somebody out, they get escorted by one or two deputies.
Mm-hmm.
But once they're in the hospital setting, they typically don't put hands on. Like, they're not allowed to put hands on other disruptive people that aren't their responsibility. So
yeah, that makes sense.
So even with theirs, I think they typically don't try to put hands on. And then when it comes to like other patients that aren't custody patients, they have PSOs, which is supposed to be like the hospital security, but they also don't go hands on unless I think the person actually does something to another person. So you can't ask them to help you restrain them. You can't ask them for any of that. But
Mhm.
in our setting, when you're trying to accomplish something and it becomes unsafe, they act really quick. Like they'll step in, they'll talk them down, or they'll just ask for extra
Mhm.
bodies. So that's a nice. I think that's nice for us, especially in that setting.
True. I think I
Yeah,
just thought
I
of
was.
something too. Like I realized how much easier it is for patients in like jail facilities to get care um, urgently or right away, as opposed if let's say we go to the hospital and go to urgent care or the ED, how quick the response time is. I feel like it takes like us longer to be seen um, for whatever issue we went to the hospital for um, than for a patient in the facility, like a jail facility or a prison, to receive care. I mean, the nurses are usually there within minutes of their medical call.
Yeah.
And if you're a good actor, you could see a doctor the same day or the next day.
That's true.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about the challenges of jail nursing. Very quickly to add on to what Roland said. People don't always tell the truth about what's wrong with them, and they're doing that on purpose to get something. So
That's true.
that's part of jail life. But we'll definitely get into pros and cons of that. All right, guys. I'm sure you guys get this question a lot from like your family and friends. They're always wanting to hear your crazy jail stories. So, what's one crazy jail story that you want to share? Something that happened to you, or something that you saw in the jail? And I can start off just real quick. Uh, the thing that's unique about our setting is that sometimes we'll have suicide attempts in this setting. It's just the nature of the correctional facility. People aren't there for happy reasons, and then once they find out that they're charged for something or that they're going to stay in jail or prison for a long time, that could really cause them to make a drastic decision to kind of take control of their lives. And unfortunately, we see that in the jail. I wouldn't say a lot, but it does happen.
More than
So
you would think.
that's what was that?
More than you would think. Like it
Yeah,
happens.
more than you would think. I
Hmm.
would say at least we see at least like one a year, an
Hmm.
attempt at least.
Yeah.
Not that it's successful, but somebody does try
Hmm.
to do a serious attempt of hurting themselves.
It's
Uh,
usually the holiday season. That's what usually gets me on edge when I'm working towards the last couple months, like November and December, because that's
Hmm.
mhm.
usually the time that they'll start trying to create plans to do some harm to themselves and their
Mhm.
friends. They're not able to spend time with their family like they're used to.
Yeah. So that's one of the crazier things that happens that definitely happens in the jail setting more specifically. What other crazy stories have you guys heard about or experienced? We just go around and maybe name like one story.
Are we talking funny
I
story or
always.
like a
Uh,
serious story or
Doesn't matter. I
because
just
we I
shared
mean we
mine
all
just
have our
just to
share.
I think so. Yeah, that's true. Go ahead, JR. You go.
Okay,
I
well,
mean, JR has a lot actually.
That's a craziest thing that you've seen anything.
oh,
Which
the
one, JR? The
craziest
peanut
thing.
butter.
Peanut butter is a good one.
Yeah, peanut butter's a good one.
Well, like a more like
Uh,
a serious one, like I mean, since opiate abuse is so rampant within the population, um, I guess there was a call of a patient not breathing, female patient not breathing, um, and then we have like per our policy, we had like 3 minutes to make it there. And the jail I was working at, I mean, the houses are so far apart. It's almost like running like 500 yards or like maybe like 3 football fields just to get to the location. So, I mean, I get
don't you
there.
guys have
Huh?
golf carts over there?
Huh? No, they
Don't you
do,
guys
but
got golf
it's
carts?
not for nurses.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm like sprinting over there with another nurse. We get there, the patient just looks dead, like blue. Actually, she looked gray, like no color in her lips. She's just like she like oh my gosh, she died. Um, So I think there's a thing called a gray death, especially with opiate and like fentanyl laced with another substance. So we started doing CPR, using the AED machine, rotating between CPR and giving breaths, and using the AED, and then we used like 3 rounds of Narcan.
242, Vita 21, APOD.
And then, I gotta cut it short, but after the injection, we got her to come back to life. Injection of Narcan. I got a 242, so I'll see you guys later.
Look at 242.
All right. Thank you for joining us there.
I wonder if that's like the 415 for us.
Oh, I thought he was going to tell her.
Oh no, you gotta hang up your feed. All right.
You got to click him off. You got to click him off for that one.
That's just the thing about
That's what happens in jail, guys.
And that's what happens.
that's just the thing. Like, it could be a cool, smooth shift for the most part, and then boom, that call just hits up on the radio, and you are that first responder. You're the medical professional in the facility, and they hold you to that standard.
I think we'll have to ask them what a 242 means later.
No.
I have a feeling that's probably like their code blue or their medical emergency call.
I feel like their code blue would be a code blue though. That's typically how they say it, right?
Blue also, but 242.
Yeah. Maybe it's a fight. I don't know. I haven't heard about that one.
Maybe that's a 415 for us.
In the jail setting, we have to be familiar with the
10 code.
The 10 codes, I think.
Yeah.
These are like the police radio codes that will tell us what's going on inside the jail. So,
do you guys remember what 1052 is?
Yeah, that's the suicide attempt, I think.
No,
Wait, say that again?
It's not the suicide.
Well, say that again, Roland?
I think it's a 1052.
1052?
I think that's the no dumping one.
Dumping?
Oh, no dumping in like the toilets?
I think it's supposed to be garbage, but they use it like as a joke, like no dumping.
Yeah, but that's what can happen in that setting. We used to have radios that we keep on us all the time, and a lot of the times there's nothing going on, but when something happens, we got to act fast, like what GR had to do. So they probably needed medical staff right away. But what about you guys? Craziest, we'll probably share a lot of these stories, but you want to name just one crazy story that you've had?
I think recently in the last year, I don't know if Rick was there for that, but somebody brought in fentanyl somehow, and then it was like one after the other. I want to say like five, one after, like back to back, just got sent out because they were just dropping. Everybody was just dropping, and everybody was getting Narcan. And I've never seen it before. And so,
was this recently?
I want to say within the last year or so.
Like after I left?
Maybe.
Ooh, yeah, that's crazy. That's
It was just a few months.
They were upset John left, and then
so everyone went on fentanyl strike.
But yeah, it was literally one pod, and then it would be one wall, the next wall, and the next wall. So they didn't share rec. They were totally separate walls, and it was one after the other, it was just crazy. I don't know what was going on.
Well, yeah, that's a tough situation for the medical staff, but custody too. Every time inmate has to go to the hospital, an officer has to go too, so that causes a lot of problems. And
I mean, even just the number of ambulances. I mean, fire comes every single time, and then they have to actually call for an ambulance, and if there isn't one nearby, you gotta wait. So then if we're sending out like 4 or 5 people, that becomes difficult too, because they need attention for sure. Yeah, that doesn't happen too. That's pretty rare, but that can definitely happen. Never seen that in the time I was there. What about you, Rick? Crazy story?
Any crazy stories? I'm sure I have some crazy stories, but nothing other than someone throwing Gatorade at me for asking them why they're crying. Um,
That was a classic one. Very classic.
that was
Empathy didn't work.
Yeah.
Didn't work very well.
Yeah, I was being very nice, wasn't I, Roland?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, I
You're
was
very
asking them
frank.
Yeah, it was just nothing big. That was interesting. Doing card tricks for one of our inmates was interesting. That
Yeah, we get to do. We could definitely. One thing that you start to be able to do this like once you're more comfortable and kind of know your limits, but you could definitely like joke around with the inmates, from time to time. Of course, you have to be very professional, but in that setting, it actually, I would say, like it helps develop your relationships with them. Like you get you're more trustful, or if they see that you can kind of joke around and not so serious about everything. So
sometimes it just builds rapport because a lot of
Yeah.
times they're already in an environment that's kind of hostile. So when you build rapport with them, they're more likely to do what you say, ask,
Mhm.
be more upfront with you, knowing that you're there for their best interest.
Yeah.
So sometimes that was like an icebreaker for me for
Yeah.
inmates.
That's true. I think you definitely develop a different type of humor, but it makes you appear more relatable. So then they tend to, you build rapport with them. It's easier to talk to them. Communication gets a lot better, and it just makes your job easier, and it helps
Mhm.
everybody.
Yeah.
Actually,
I know
one of the things I learned from you was actually from an inmate, Roland.
Which
Like,
one?
The being able to break a pill in half without dude, that was really that I teach everybody that. All the new nurses that I get to teach, when we can't find a pill cutter, I teach them that same technique you showed me.
It's
and
good.
It works.
I learned
Wait,
it from a
learn from an
method.
inmate.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
I coincidentally, I recorded it to show to my brother because he works at the pharmacy now. And I was like, "Oh, do you know how to break a pill without a pill cutter?"
Uh-huh.
And so I showed him, and he's definitely never seen it. I think you really got to be doing drugs in order to know how to break your trazodone in half without a pill cutter, especially when they're not
Like
scored.
if it's not scored. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It
Wow.
is.
Quite the trick. I think I'll do it one time. I'll do it one time for the podcast.
Oh, that's where you learned that skill.
Oh no, I learned it when I think I was doing pill call and somebody wanted trazodone 50 instead of 100.
Oh,
And
got
it
it.
wasn't scored, so she broke it on the window for me and gave me the other half.
And it was like perfect too.
It was as perfect as you could be, like
Yeah.
considering she did it on a window. So it was good. It was good.
All right,
amazing.
guys. That's I think that's a good way to start things off. Let me figure out a way to wrap this. So
I know.
yeah, so that's
I have an idea, John.
uh-huh.
I'm gonna do a 1-minute segment called "True or False Accusation," and it's just a true or false question. Are you guys ready for it?
Okay.
Let's go.
All right, true or false, majority of, I want to say, inmate items or prison items are actually made by Bob Barker.
Oh, Barker, like
Yep.
the Price is Right guy.
We'll say Bob Barker for now, but yeah, most people will attribute it to Price is Right like I did. I mean, I personally thought it was. True or false?
I'll say false.
Let's say
Google it.
true.
Google it. Somebody Google it for me so I can see you type while on this podcast. There we go. There we go.
There's items. Bob. Bob Barker Company.
Yeah.
Oh wait, it does it. This company
Coincidentally.
offers the broadest product line and largest inventory of corrections and detention supplies.
Yep.
So that's
Yes.
That is the fun fact of today.
true.
So yeah,
Alex?
Do I get anything?
not for me, no. Maybe from our audience, our soon-to-be audience.
Yeah. I think that would be a good way to end the podcast whenever we do it.
You do a fun fact?
Yeah, fun fact, like a true or false, or did you know like this about jail nursing or something?
That's true. I mean, yeah, it's a good way to end it, I guess.
Yeah. But I think that's a good way to start off this first one. Yeah, for other, if you guys stay and watch our content, we're gonna be talking about a lot more stuff other than jail nursing. Of course, that's what we do, and we have a lot of experience on that area, and I'm sure people have a lot of questions about what that specialty is like. But actually, a lot of us are really interested in doing entrepreneur stuff on the side as well. So, Roland and Rick right now, they're doing some Amazon FBA stuff on the side. So we'll be talking about that in future podcasts and more about side hustles, things that nurses can do to earn more money other than, working more hours at the regular nursing job. We all kind of are on the same page about not wanting to work more hours just to make more money. Because there's definitely a limit to how much you can make about that, and that's how you burn out as a nurse. So doing things on the side that'll kind of help to supplement your income that is non-nursing related too. But we'll definitely be talking more about those things in the future too. So if you guys have any questions that you want to get answered, you can just leave it down in the comments, or any other ideas that you want us to talk about. Feel free to type it in, and then we'll make sure to include that on the future podcast.